So we do have Masa. He is an agile coach at UST-Global. He also contributes to industry as a steering committee member for Agile Testing Alliance, DevOps Alliance, and the Kanban for Knowledge Work Alliance. So we are great to have Masa with us for being a steering committee member for us. And topic for today, what he's going to cover is practical coaching insights. If you want to know more about Masa, you can go to the link on the GTR website, and you're also able to find the interview video with him and even his LinkedIn profile for the matter. So thank you very much, Masa, for coming ahead. Please feel free to start presenting. You can proceed.
Okay, thank you so much. Hello, everybody. I'm sure you might have been having an awesome day, learning a lot. This being the last session, I know it's going to be probably a little bit difficult because it's a tsunami of knowledge for everybody. But hopefully this will be a finale adequate to the day. So I want to start by telling you a little bit about Yosemite National Park in the U.S. Sorry, Yellowstone National Park in the U.S. As you know, Yosemite might be probably one of those names, one of those parks that pretty much every person on the planet has heard of. Maybe they haven't seen photos or such, but at least it sounds familiar. And there is something really interesting about Yellowstone. In addition that it was the first national park that was officially declared as such, and is towards the turn of last century, Yellowstone has amazing diversity of fauna and flora, and there was this quest to eliminate the wolf because the wolf was considered to be a species that was just harmful. They will obviously hunt and kill, at farms, and so people were losing, cows and chickens, and so they just saw them as predators, and at some point it was entirely eradicated. There were no more wolves at the park. Some biologists were curious and somewhat concerned as to what was going to happen with the ecology of that region. And Yellowstone being a national park, meaning people cannot go and construct houses and buildings and cities and towns there, that was a perfect place where a study could be conducted. And what happened was, and rather rapidly, surprise, surprise, there was a tremendous ecological change. And what happened was that the population of elk and deer changed. And what this means is it increased, because if there are no wolves that kill them and eat them, then it increased. As they increased, they were obviously covering more territory. And so they were eating more plants, and they were roaming around more freely. So they started covering more territory than before. And what that resulted was that the vegetation started changing all across the park. At the same time, other predators also started, the behavior and their amount started changing. That includes coyotes, that includes bear, and other minor animals, rodents, because wolves eat lots of rodents. So there were more rodents, and that started also eroding the underground. And then because there was more vegetation and the animals will go to rivers, then they will actually soften the soil around the rivers. And then comes winter, there's ice, there's snow, then comes spring, all that snow and ice melts and it starts running. And once it starts running, it will start eroding the sides of the rivers. So the bottom line is that the impact of having removed the wolf from Yosemite was so huge that even the shape of the park changed. The river's shape changed. And what this meant was that the entire region was becoming an ecological disaster. because even the same mountains, there were more mudslides, right? So the point of the story is that region is an ecology, and it is balanced. Well, it was balanced. Everything was in harmony. Everything was operating in such a way that that was a healthy environment. Once the wolf was removed, catastrophe started to happen. So it was then when it was understood that the wolf in that region is what ecologists call a keystone species. And meaning it is so important to the ecology of the region that if you remove it, everything goes belly up, basically. So they started bringing the wolf back. And they started by bringing just about half a dozen of them, and then they brought a few more. And of course, they started reproducing. And very rapidly, the ecology started becoming back into balance. And this is something that resonated worldwide. So now there are major efforts to make sure that regions in the planet are being kept ecologically balanced. And then, well, we know there's political battle, like people trying to build oil pipelines in Alaska, and so on and so forth. But why am I telling you this? Well, because what we do, where we work, is also an ecology. And there has to be an ecological balance. And what that means is that as coaches, and not only coaches, pretty much everybody who is part of the organization should take this into consideration. And what does that mean? What this means is it doesn't matter what our role is. It doesn't matter if we are manual testers or test automation engineers or developers or designers or managers or executives. It doesn't matter. We all are part of that ecology. And what happens is that we have leaders, right? So leadership has to be true leadership. Leadership is not just giving orders. Leadership is not just saying, this is what needs to be done, or this is the next product. Leadership is about really, truly identifying what is the best way in which we can evolve the entire organization, and not just how to make more money, right? We have to consider the teams themselves, and the teams are as small as a few people team on a technical side as it can be a group of attorneys or financial people or admin people at the organization. It is as important as the customer itself. We have to think of the customer as a sentient human being. And in what way what we do or we don't do is going to benefit or affect in a negative way, that customer. It has to do with the service orientation. It is not just about the product. It is not about just the pizza, right? It is about how we take the order from that pizza, how we put it together, how we bake it, and then how we deliver it, how early, how soon, or how late we deliver it, how our presentation is. Do we get there with a smile? Do we get there upset? Are we dirty? The box is messed up. All the ingredients in the pizza are to one side of the box because we dropped it on the way. It's the whole experience. It is also about the process. And the process has to be the right process that serves the purpose of that service orientation, that teamwork, that leadership, and that customer. It's not about having a process just to have a process. And it is also about the right tools. In the Agile world, most of you, I'm sure, work in Agile environments. Some Agile coaches often mention, everything is about the people. So the tools is okay. I mean, whichever tool, we just make it work. And that is not true, because let's say that you need to cut a huge tree. The tree, unfortunately, is the end of its life, and we need to cut it before it just falls and harms somebody. And you have the choice of using a table knife, a kitchen knife, or a chainsaw to cut that huge tree. Now, you tell me, does it matter or doesn't it matter to have the right tools, right? So when people come with that argument, I always take it with a grain of salt, because really tools matter. and having the right tools is important, right? But at the same time, because we're an organization and we're providing a product and service, it doesn't matter if we are for profit or non-for-profit. In the end, there has to be an economic perspective. And this is because even non-for-profits, they have a budget to take care of, right? So there has to be an economic perspective. And by this, I don't mean just money. Everything can be seen in economic terms. So for example, if we keep our employees healthy, right? If we keep them motivated, if they're healthy, they are going to get sick less often. If they're motivated, they're going to be more creative. They're going to generate better products and services. And that has an economic impact that is positive to the organization, right? So this is an ecology. And what this means is all of us have the responsibility that when we're doing our work, we have to think about the entire system. By the way, by definition, an ecology is a set of systems of mutual benefit. So each one of these images here is a system in its own right. And what we have to make sure that is this set interacts in a way that all of them benefit everybody. That's what we have to see. Not just our benefit, but everybody's benefit. If we can find that balance, then we have a healthy ecology in at our organization. And I'm going to take, for example, something that Craig was mentioning. Excellent talk, by the way. I had an experience recently where we had, I am working for a huge financial organization currently. And we had at some point, we were having a conversation and we had a person who is in charge, one of the people who are in charge of the DevOps transformation for the entire business. An amazing person, super great guy. And he was emphasizing about, how proud they are and how fabulous their progress on automation has been. And at some point I asked him about, the test automation. I said, oh yeah, we're automating everything and we're almost there. And I asked him, well, how do you determine what to automate and what not to automate? I said, no, we automate everything. And then he, wait a second, so I have a question. Would you automate something that automating it is going to have a negative impact? Would you automate something that is not the right time to automate? And also, how do you automate user experience? And well, he counter-argue in some way, but within the same arguments, I could tell that he started questioning his own arguments. Because, again, there are things that can be automated, things that cannot be automated, things that can be automated at a certain moment. But there are things that cannot be automated, right? We talk about testing. And it is all about that balance. How do we assemble things in a way that this happens? Right? Leadership has to be involved at all levels of the organization in all activities. And it has to be towards the end of keeping this balance, right? So the question here is, what's the keystone species in our ecosystem at our organization, right? And the answer is very obvious. The keystone species is the people. The people at the organization are that key element that if we don't keep the right care of, the entire business, the entire organization is going to collapse. And unfortunately, it happens way too often that the first asset of an organization that we don't take care of is the people. The organization is in bad shape economically, or let's just fire a bunch of people. Oh, the product is compromised, the delivery is compromised. Okay, guys, had to work on weekends, had to work extra hours, right? And we don't stop to understand the incredibly negative impact that has at all levels, including the economic level. So we have to shift the way we think, the way we consider what we do and how we do it, and understand that if we have the right tools, the right processes, where the process is a way to improve how we do what we do, and not us change the way we work to fit a process, right? It's about the service orientation. It's not just about delivering whatever, right? And that's why it's so important that we pay attention to what matters. And this is also to Craig's point, test and measure what really makes sense to test and measure. Don't waste time and effort on other activities, right? So this is my key message. The practical advice is this, guys. Look at the ecosystem. Don't think that because you're an individual contributor, you cannot have an impact on the service orientation, on the process, on the tools, and even at leadership level. As a leader, understand that you have to make sure that all these elements are in balance. And that is not just a matter of figuring out what the next product is or what the next set of features are, right? We have to listen and understand the customer, right? And again, we have to have all these interacting together all the time, okay? And every decision and every action that you take has to have an economic reason for it. If there is no economic benefit or economic advantage to what we're going to do, it doesn't make any sense to do it. All right. So that's my message. So thank you so much, guys. A pleasure as always for me to be with you. If you have any questions, please.
Hey, thank you very much, Masa. It was really great. Okay, so on the question side, is there anyone on the meeting who wants to unmute and ask?
So Shreyas, Harsh here. So Masa, I don't have a question for you, but the way you said and the story that you started, I think that was amazing. And the story of the park that you said and how the ecosystem was destroyed, that was pretty much amazing. That's what I wanted to add from my side as a comment.
Thank you so much.
So guys, if you have any questions, you can directly unmute, or maybe you can put in the Slido if you have not done so far. We have Masa to answer all the questions.
Hi Masa, this is Bijit. It's a good story, but I would like to ask a question regarding the ecology.
Sure.
So in the situation of COVID, the ecology is, I think, disturbed. How long it will take to get the gear up this ecology? What do you think?
Oh, okay. So a little bit off topic from the standpoint of the context of testing and such. So in terms of the COVID, I actually had the fortune of the third startup that I was a founding team member of. We actually pioneered on proteomics and genomics, and that was what gave me the opportunity to actually work in the industry that has to do with biotech and pharma. So I have some understanding of how that industry works. Basically, the way I see it is in terms of how to bring this back it's not going to take as long as if it had been something of lower impact. Doing the research and having a vaccine approved and ready takes a long time because there's a lot of consideration. There's a lot of guesswork, so there had to be lots of trials, and that takes time. In the case of COVID, it has taken less time because it was a global effort. We have hundreds of laboratories and big pharmas working on this for different purposes. Obviously, most of them monetary purpose, because whoever comes first with an effective one is going to make a lot of money. Yeah. But the advantage is that it's going to be sooner rather than later that we're going to be able to start having a way to reduce the risk of getting COVID. Now, we're not going to go back to where we were. So I think that there was, there's a Chinese proverb that says that even from the worst storm, something good comes out. And I think that the good that is coming out from this horrible experience of COVID, I think we all have had loss. From my personal side, people close to me, 18 of them are no longer with us. So it's something that has impacted all of us in one measure or another. But, this has helped in terms of, coming back into this context to realize two things. One of them, lots of leadership and I'm going to put as a role and not as people, but leadership has had for the longest time the belief that individual contributors are irresponsible. We had to be there as bosses, tapping on their shoulder all the time to do the work, because if not, they won't do it. They are not mature and responsible enough to do their work. And now they have no, and therefore we don't want them to work remote. And what this has proven is that actually people are more responsible and work much better when they are given the opportunity to demonstrate that they are responsible, right? And for some people who are not quite there yet, this has allowed them to actually increase the degree of responsibility. So this is good news. It has been demonstrated, and this has also helped mature the technology behind it. We are learning to be interconnected in a face-to-face manner differently than before. So I think that, at the end of the tunnel, this is benefiting a lot, because, for example, yesterday I saw on the news that the carbon footprint global-wise since the pandemic went down 7% compared to the previous year. So this is also helping, reduce the carbon footprint that has been harming the planet. So I think that this COVID-19, as bad as it has been, there has been benefits on different fronts, and I think that's something good. So I think that what we had to do is we had to do what is from our side to make sure that we go through this as quickly as possible. So we had to be responsible in taking care of ourselves, keeping the social distance and all that. And then not go back to where we were, but actually everything that we learned, all the progress that we had from this as people and technically, in terms of technology and such, continue moving forward. Let's not go back to the old normal. Let's evolve and improve the new normal. That's my take on it.
Yeah, thanks, Masa. Thanks. It's a good one.
Thank you very much for coming here on the GTR and sharing your story about the context. So thank you very much for that, Masa.